another episode of By the Numbers. Yes, it's pretty quick after the last one that we did, but that's what happens when, you know, you go a long time and then two come along at once. It's kind of like buses. I'm your host, Richard Lewis. That's Duncan Thorin Shields, co-host, recurring guest, whatever status you want to confer to him. And, of course, pressing the buttons, it is Sammy Davis, not to be confused with Sammy Davis Jr. That's
he did not. Oh, I know.
Yeah, no, you went back in. You go back in time and father him. It's like Lister in Red Dwarf. You know, it's like some weird time dilation. But anyway, yeah. Apparently, Discord went down just as we were about to do the show, so that's why there was that weird bit where Sam like just went and just like cut the record and everything. So anyway, well, shout out to the sponsor. I just realized as well, like we did talk about a fuck ton of stuff on the show, so this might be one of those famous filler episodes. So maybe we can get out of here in 90 minutes. That's fine. It's 94 degrees outside, and I'm drinking Guinness. So
from a solo.
But anyway, yeah, they're not the sponsor. Maybe one day. But shout out to .com, of course, if you like placing bets on esports events. You go to .com, use /RLS as the referral code. You get to place bets in a safe, ethical environment. They don't run bullshit tournaments on there that get fucking with mysterious results and swing bets. And they're a great sponsor to have. I'm very grateful to have them.
You know, by the way, on that topic, in light of the drink of choice, apparently, right? In Amsterdam, it's mental because there's a really old bar that just has like, you know, like it obviously can't be as old as this, but they've purposely tried to keep the outside of it so it looks sort of like a tavern from like the fucking early 20th/late 19th century, right? I can't remember, but basically it's right in Rembrandtplein, the like main square or whatever. And it on the side of it, it just has old advertising that was from this era, right? And the one for Guinness actually says Guinness is good for you. That's the actual advertising.
No, it was advertised like that.
Isn't that so mental?
I was talking about this before. Now, I don't want to reveal myself as having suffered that I've got fetal alcohol syndrome or anything. But they used to prescribe stout to women when they were...
Fucking hell.
Yeah, like my mother was told.
That sounds like some shit from my area, mate. Like the woman's like, "Oh, it hurts giving birth." They're like, "Here's some stout. Drink that shit."
No, they used to say I'm stout because, right, first of all, there was this misconception that it's full of iron. It's not. It's just got trace iron in it, but obviously iron. And these are doctors I'm talking about. These are Northeast doctors, by the way. Welsh doctors as well. But they also would say that it was good for breast milk. I don't even know where they got that from, but like it would
trying to get you like Guinness in the fucking on the tit.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously we know now that it does go through. So yeah, it's like for the last, and the best part as well is it's like they say, you know, for the last 3 months of pregnancy, up your stout because you start drinking more.
I was just a class action lawsuit.
Yeah, I know you're gonna need you know, breast milk. So that's what they used to do. So you know, there was a generation of kids born, you know, with problems. You know, not all of us. Some of us made it through the gauntlet, and like, but yeah, it's pretty wild as fuck. Yeah, that's how they used to advertise it, and it is good for you in a way.
I mean, all I'm going to say is, did you make it through the gauntlet? You are drinking the same drink now, 30 plus years later. You know, it worked. All I'm saying is the progress worked.
Mate, the way my life's been going, I'm hoping it's just all a fever dream, and I died in the womb. So that would be
starting on a light note.
Like, you know, just like the butterfly effect where he necks himself with the umbilical cord. Like, just get me the fuck out. Like,
you must be enjoying that, by the way, that all these CS players now are like, you know what? We're bloody really stressed in that. You're like, welcome to my life, motherfucker. Have you ever tried actually having a Twitter account and just posting that? Have you ever tried having a Twitter account and exposing provable lies? Nothing could get you more hate in the world.
I'd like to say, as soon as I touch down on fucking UK soil again, I'm going to get myself over to Amsterdam. Going to come and see you, and I will tell you a story
some good shit.
Mate, you have no idea. Like I've been on the precipice. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Well, there's some wild shit going on, but I'll tell you about it later. Definitely not on a podcast watched by 2,000 people. But you know, we'll get into that. Right then, let's do where the fuck did we previously on By the Numbers? We had a break.
If you remember, on the end of the last episode was when like Olof Meister retired. Am I wrong with that? And now that like Bymas guy is replaced. Am I wrong with that? Was it not? Yeah, it was.
We did that.
That was actually where I was going to go with it.
We didn't know that the Bymas guy, whatever the fuck, was joining, obviously.
B-Ry. little self-indulgent throwback. But yeah, so as what happened on air was Olof finally stood down from FaZe. You know, it's one of those things that have been a long time coming. As we talked about on the podcast, Duncan had just done a video saying, you know, this is like he's
final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, well, a lot of people sort of made that joke. It is weird how these things work out. I don't think it factored in. It was
no. I believe it was already known before then. But
yeah. But basically, Duncan had done a video where he was like talking about, you know, Olof Meister's in this sort of world now where he's like CS royalty and he's unassailable, and you know he should probably stand down for the best because he's lost that hunger and he's not delivering on the server anymore. And then lo and behold, it happened. So the question was, as we were all speculating, well, what are FaZe going to do? Like, are FaZe going to go out there and pick up a fucking, you know, big name player? You know, who's NiKo got lined up now? And obviously, they've been out there and they've got youth players before, like we saw with Brookie, and it didn't work. It hasn't worked out bad. I mean, he's holding his own in that team. You wouldn't call him a problem. They're doing very well. In fact, very clearly, the person who had to go was Olof Meister. So, you know, it's the first part of fixing the problem. But then, literally by the end of the podcast, it was coming through that they're going to give a trial to a guy called Bymas or Bymas, however it's pronounced, and a dude from Lithuania that's been playing in FPL. And the more and more you look into it, you're like, right, oh, wait, there's this old interview where NiKo had said, yeah, I think there's this kid called Bymas that's going to be the next big thing. He's really good in FPL. Now, there's tons of stuff to go into just around that. But he's a 16-year-old kid, not a lot of professional experience, but he's already got NiKo's blessing. Probably again because narcissistically he went, he reminds me of me. Bloody reminds me of me, doesn't he? And that's probably. But
not as good. Never as good. You know the way that goes in FaZe Clan. I have a massive problem with this move, by the way, because here's the big problem, right? It's actually interesting because in my video that I did, the one you're referring to, the point is it was mainly just a stats breakdown, because since everyone else out there fucking worships stats, it's like, well, that will be the weapon I will use to destroy you then. So if you believe this guy's super sick and you already said he was playing like supportive role or whatever years ago, well, then if I can just prove that he's like half as good statistically, you'll have to admit that he's gone downhill. So that's essentially what the gist of the video is. But in the video at the end, I also point out that since I don't believe stats are the be all end all, like there's certainly things don't show up on the stats sheet, just as in every sport there is. I actually make a plea. Admittedly, you expect this to fall on deaf ears because it always does. I say, if anyone out there really does believe he's actually good or something, just make a video. Like, why don't you break down a demo and show us some shit he does, like some cool rotation or a flashy throw that just doesn't show up somehow on the stat sheet, right? And some Irish guy, it's not a famous person or anything, it's just a guy with a YouTube channel, made a video like that where he took like a couple of Mirage demos of FaZe and he just tried to analyze it, right? And the interesting thing is, in the end, he does agree that like Olof Meister was way worse. Like, he did miss a bunch of shots and snares. Like, he says some things he did were right, but here's the thing: he also comes to the conclusion that he was playing in a bunch of supportive positions. Like, for example, on Mirage, on T side, he would just hold the underground area. He would just hold that the whole time. He would shit at it as well. So the problem I have with that, right, is if he was already doing those roles, yes, the fact that he's not getting kills doesn't help the matter. But this guy coming in isn't a fucking supportive element. Like, this guy coming in, as far as I can tell, even the first clips, it looks like another, like you say, like an FPL fragger. How many of these are you going to have in a team? At this point in time, what is Rain, by the way, one of the most talented players fucking Europe has ever produced? What is he, like the sole support player now, who's in some sort of nightmare, like, Zipnik simulator? Like, what the fuck is this shit? How's this team going to work?
Yeah, but I think this
it just is an FPL mix now. It just looks like an FPL mix now.
Yeah, but I think that's what NiKo's done. He's beat the system of not having an in-game leader by not having a team that could even respond to having an in-game leader.
It's like someone said
you understand the it's genius in a way. I mean, it's fucked.
No, the genius is this. Genius. It's like someone came to him and they said, "NiKo, every successful team's had an in-game leader." He goes, "Joke's on you. Who said I'm trying to make a team?"
Yeah, exactly.
He's a mixed team, hasn't he?
No, but ultimately, say what you will, there is an argument to say that the original inception of FaZe, back when they wanted the all-star lineup,
for sure, yeah.
I mean, they've always kind of had that, with the exception of the sort of Carrigan era, this idea of like, well, fuck it, we can just we'll just get more kills, we'll just play, we'll play aggressively. Even when Carrigan was there, if you remember, the joke was, oh, Carrigan doesn't do anything tactically, an absurd premise, but it's what people used to say.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything tactically. He just tells NiKo to go and kill 3 people, and he's surrounded with people that can do that. So maybe NiKo's thinking, oh, yeah, all those memes about Carrigan. Yeah, he did just tell me to go and kill 3 people, so I'll get a bunch of kids around me and coldzera by, like the simpatico, and we'll just build a team that can play like that. It's not the craziest thing in the world, because NiKo's playing really, really well right now. And obviously, the less he has to do as an in-game leader, the better. So, in fact, actually, maybe it's the lifeline Janko kind of needed over in FaZe, because we all know if this team doesn't work out, eventually it's going to be Janko that gets got.
Sure.
He'll have to fall on his sword first. It's about time. It's coming. I think if FaZe have a couple of disappointing finishes, we're going to get that sad letter from Janko, like, that just didn't bloody work out. You know how it goes. So maybe this isn't the stupidest idea of all time, like having, you got 2 impressionable kids on the roster now. You got coldzera, you got NiKo, you got Rain. Like I say, not only is he one of the most all-round talent Europe's produced, he's a model pro. He does whatever the fuck he's told, and says he's happy to do it. So maybe this is a good move in hindsight.
I don't know about that. Put it this way, this is the main problem I will always have with FaZe Clan, is when you have NiKo and coldzera, the expectation is simple. You are to win the major. That is it. Anything less than that is some form of failure. Admittedly, it's not necessarily failure, to make the major final, top 4 and have a chance. You're allowed to lose. But that should be the expectation, because like that's the level these players are at. Like, as you say, NiKo's like contender for best player in the world right now. So what's the point in having the best player in the world and then trying to be like, oh, we've made it from 8th to 6th? It's like, who gives a fuck? Like, do you not understand the premise of your window and the prime? So all I would say is this, right? Go look at every team to ever win a major, right? Show me the one that just didn't have an in-game leader. Even if people want to argue, right? Like, maybe someone like NiKo would think this. Oh, but Thorin didn't like Fnatic mainly just play by doing a lot of just defaults, and then individual players do what they want. Yeah, first of all, they had amazing team players. Secondly, they were all Swedish. Thirdly, some of them had played together for years, including before Fnatic. Fourthly, they had Pronax, who made all the mid-round calls. So, like, the problem with this is, like, if he can do it, this would not only be like, as you say, it'd be like a hyper extreme version of the FaZe Clan concept, but without even a Carrigan. And then even more so than that, you would have to essentially revolutionize Counter-Strike, as far as I can tell. Like, every other team had like a real in-game leader who ever had that level of success. I mean, the closest I can come that isn't is maybe Tariq. And that's the one that everyone says was a fluke.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, the one thing I've learned is, like, there's definitely talent out there with a lot of these, like, kind of younger players that are coming through, the 16 and 17-year-olds. And generally what dictates whether they go on to succeed or not, well, it's a combination of things. But, I mean, mostly it's where they end up first, I think. If you end up, like, in a real bad spot that you can't get out of quickly and you completely fuck your career, well, you're going on over to Valorant, probably. But if you actually end up at a team where you're surrounded by good players and you can learn and you've got the right attitude, you'll generally go on to carve something out of yourself if you've got all the raw tools. So it just remains to be seen whether or not FaZe is that place for this kid.
Oh, here's the thing. I'm not passing any judgment on the Bymas guy. Like, I mean, some of the initial clips actually look good. Like, I can believe he's some FPL talent. The problem to me is I just don't understand why they thought that was the role they needed to add to their team. And I definitely just don't get... Here's the problem. Look at all the last moves that they did in FaZe Clan, right? The really big one was obviously coldzera, right? We get that. Before that, it was 2 players who were dead on arrival. They were already washed up. Neo and fucking Adren. Guardian even went the way of the fucking Dodo. He's still never recovered. And then you got Brocky, who, listen, turned out to be good so far. And he's barely played any Lanzo. People forget that part still. Like, it's not like he's played a long time, because obviously the pandemic's cut all that shit short. So the big problem I have is it's such an underwhelming signing. Like, again, when you've got these pieces, like, put it this way, if this is an NFL franchise, like, if you have like the best wide receivers, 3 of them, and you have the best running back and a good backup, and you've got like a pretty good secondary in your defense, but you got no quarterback, you wouldn't go, well, good news, I've signed a 4th really good wide receiver. No, obviously you'd spend all the money on the fucking quarterback at that point in time. Dallas Cowboys. You know, not whatever. Whatever. I made that one mean at the end there.
Look, I know you've been desperate to turn this into an NFL podcast for a while. Generally, though, I think the way Brocky's handled himself in this online portion, you know, going through you know, April and May, I've watched FaZe play a few times in all the games I've caught. He's been decent, you know, positive scores. You know, not at the top of the scoreboard like NiKo's playing lights out, but you don't need him to. You need him to just do his roles and do his jobs. And like FaZe have had a really good record online. You know, they've been doing really well in the road to Rio and everything. So as far as I'm concerned, he's kind of established himself in the team by this point. Like it's not a case of it's dead man's shoes. I mean, put it this way, there was no doubt in my mind that cutting Olof was the best thing to do. It wasn't like, oh,
yeah, that goes without saying, yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely had to be him. Like Brocky is an established FaZe player now. Where it gets kind of interesting for me, I guess, is I want to know who's driving these signings at FaZe. I really do, because it looks like it's all NiKo now.
It was kind of intimated to me, basically, that he has a lot of say in that regard. The thing I find weird about this, though, the reason why I bring up the angle of how underwhelming all the signings are is, I won't say who, but I basically had communication with people within FaZe Clan last year, and they told me that it's a total myth that they like can't spend on their CS team and, you know, wouldn't buy big players. Now, to be fair, they did then buy Cold Zero, so they weren't lying, but that's why it's so
was it ever established how much was spent on the Cold Zero move, if anything?
It was supposed to be a lot in theory. Like that's basically what I was told, essentially. I mean, people can, maybe this is the sort of thing we should ask DK about, really. It was intimated to me that basically the reason why it took so long and happened like on day one of ESL New York or whatever, where he'd been unofficially living in Serbia the whole time playing with them. And basically, like, they were trying to do that thing where it was like, possession is 9/10 of the law. He's basically here, just sell him. As far as I know, you have to remember, it was Lurpus working this deal. Like, as far as I know, I think he just literally milked those fuckers. Like, he was like, well, I don't give a fuck if he wants to go, just like pay the money. So as far as I know, they actually did pay on that one.
Interesting.
Maybe they came to a deal last second, though. It wouldn't be impossible, right?
Yeah, I didn't know if it was going to be one of those deals where it was like they just kind of wanted to, you know, get him off the salary books or whatever, and you know, because it wasn't like it was a pretty fucking acrimonious split. Let's be real about it.
Course,
I mean, you could tell there was all sorts of problems over there. But I wasn't sure. But in that case, then I think we can safely conclude that it pretty much is NiKo's project now. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about a star player essentially dictating a roster, but it's no coincidence that the quote that NiKo gave, hang on, I'll bring it up and read it. The quote he gave about it was, there's this guy, Bymas from FPL, who really surprised me. I watched him a couple of times, and I think he's pretty good and a pretty versatile player. He's not going to be in the top 20 next year, but I believe he's going to be a big thing. I believe he has the potential to make it to the top and do some good things. So this is all another hangover. Like, we never talked about it on this podcast, about the whole FPL nonsense that was going on, where basically people were getting kicked out of FPL because NiKo and Simple didn't think they were good enough or played the right way to be there.
Oh, right. I remember this is when the people, like, I mean, to be fair, some of them were shitters, but the idea was they were in theory playing the bad roles and the bad spots because they just wanted to be in FPL or something like that, right?
But I mean,
it was
again,
it was all those ones I could see both sides of it, sort
of. But the level of bias in it, like, so for example, I think there's a Lithuanian player called Butters. I know.
Why though? Why is Dust Lithuanian in this example?
I said, what? In the butt. What's that? What are you talking about? Why did you bring up Dust for?
Just a joke. Think about the name. Think about it.
Good. Just a friendly joke.
All right, yeah. Lighthearted.
But anyway, there was a Lithuanian player called Butters that got I think he got kicked out of FPL, and he had like actually better stats than this Bymas guy at the time he was removed.
So you think NiKo just extended his hand and protected this guy?
But I mean, there's loads of that shit going on because, you know,
the worst one is you boy fucking
FaZe on blast here again, right? Because like I've never liked the way the FPL situation's been handled. Sure. Young players break through, fucking FaZe, they're going, look how important FPL is to the ecosystem. No young talent would ever be developed without FPL. Yeah, we get it, Mikey. Shut the fuck up, all right? So they do that. And then pro players are basically saying these young whippersnappers not respecting us with our 20 grand a fucking month salaries. We should get to play the positions we want to play in every fucking pickup game. You know, fuck the kids that are trying to prove themselves, right? And maybe get on a team so they can be like us one day. Nah. We get all the glory positions that we want. And they literally made this argument, and a ton of people got kicked out. And then, so face it, basically endorse that behavior, support the pros, remove the players the pros don't like. Well, what happened to this glorious youth ecosystem you were developing, you fucking hypocrites? And I'll show you how absurd this has gone. And I'm sorry to invoke his name, because every time I invoke his name, he loses his fucking marbles, and he's barely got any marbles left, the poor cunt. Right? But think of this. There were young players removed from FPL, right, for not taking it seriously enough.
I know where you're going
having
already.
What it took.
I actually referenced it earlier. It's your boy Loba, of course. Why is that?
And because Loba is fucking hanging out the back of Simple and NiKo like a human centipede, they leave a fucking 30-year-old man who has no chance of ever going pro. Like, it's never happening for him. He might be a super cool guy, right? He might be a nice dude. He might be fun to play with, but he is never going pro. And because he's just there, like fucking being dragged along like a giant swollen tail by both of them, he gets to stay in, but 16 and 17-year-olds with legitimate talent aren't allowed. So fuck that. I mean, that is bullshit. That's absolute garbage. And
especially because here's the other thing, right? The only angle that you would have to justify kicking out the up-and-coming player is that angle of like, look, you're just not good enough. Maybe you have the skills, but, you know, you can't play all the roles which is required at the pro level. You're not taking it seriously. Something like that, right? You can't then turn around and then go, but this guy can stay. Because, like, if anyone's ever seen, like, I haven't watched him stream or whatever, I've seen some of the clips that people put on Reddit. It's all just trolling and stupid shit. And he's just garbage at the game relative to the level we're talking about. Like, I'm sure he's way better than me, Richard, but that's irrelevant anyway. We're not trying to get an FPL, you dumb fucks. The point is, it's called the Face It Pro League, for God's sake. The idea is you either are literally meant to be a pro or have pro-level skills. I even personally think that they actually promote people sometimes too quickly because they're so eager to find the next star, and they've made it some fucked up, like, reality game show, whereas reality, it's supposed to be, the idea is, if you get in there, you either are pro or you're just so good as you haven't started on a team yet. Like, the idea is that you're some sick pickup game and you're just the next, like, you're the guy who's going to be drafted in the #1 spot in the NBA or whatever. So you're not supposed to just be some guy like, I give this guy a try. It's like, no, it's not giving people a try. You're supposed to just be good enough to get in. So again, I agree. Anyone who's at the bottom of that, you should be being reviewed, but it should have nothing to do with politics. It should just be like, it should just be some sort of council of whatever, 10, and then you do the votes. If 6 people vote, you're out. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's ridiculous. Like, some of the guys that were kind of allowed to fucking stay in. Like I say, yeah, it was Buzz. He was given 18 days. 18 days to prove himself in FPL. And as I said, in that time, he achieved better statistics than this guy that FaZe has picked up, but obviously just didn't make a good enough impression on NiKo. I think it's absolutely absurd. It's a much, you know, it's not a topic worth getting into. But I did notice, again, the fucking great minds of Reddit, right? Loba made some fucking pity party thread where he said, I'm leaving FPL because these young'uns just don't respect. First of all, why on earth would they ever respect your achievements? Like, let's just be fucking real. What, you played 2 games for Imperial or something? Like, fuck me, come on. I could have got a game with them cunts. That's nothing, right? So why should they respect your achievements, right, when you haven't really got anything? You know, you've got a stream. You've got a good sponsor, because Rivalry sponsor you. You'll notice I've got no beef. I'm pretty sure I could have swung a dick around. I'm not like that kind of guy. You know, he's got value as a entertainer, I guess, to certain people. But the reality is that, you know, why should young players be respecting him when he ain't done nothing? He ain't done shit. And yet, you know, these young players are being told, oh, well, Loba's established, Loba's protected. So he cried and raged and rage quit and said, yeah, we're going to go make our own hub, NiKo, Simple, all the people who don't like these young whippersnappers, we're going to make our own hub. And so Face It went, oh, what can we do? What can we do to neutralize this situation? Oh, just kick out this list of names. Certainly. Like, that's pathetic. Oh, and then, of course, Loba was back within a day, because if he quit FPL, what the fuck would he actually have going on? You know,
and by the way, I'll even say this as well. Based on what I explained about the premise, you're either a pro-level player or good enough to be pro-level. What is this bullshit of spots? Like, what is this garbage? Like, listen, maybe if we're talking about simple, like if I had simple on my team, just like back in the day when League of Legends didn't have roles and you had to decide it in the lobby. Yeah, you know what? If back then, like fucking Expecke was in the game, I'd probably give him mid to try and win the game. But everyone just doesn't get their spot by default. Like, the idea is even the 17-year-old is only supposed to be there, as long as it isn't just some fucking Britain's Got Talent. He's only supposed to be there because he's got skills. So at that point in time, beyond extreme examples, like you might let Kenny S have the fucking AWP, you should actually be making people play all the roles. That should be half of what we even practicing there's about.
But I just hate the way as well it was framed that there's no negotiation. And it's like, listen, I'll just go out on a limb here and say I think it's more important that young developing players get the spots they're comfortable with over pros that aren't going to be judged on their performance in FPL in any way, shape, or form because they're pros making money. You know, and if you're pros and you're meant to be these like god tier players that everyone should look up to and respect, teach these youngins how to play then.
Sure.
Teach them how to play by you playing the fucking shit role and saying, right, look, you play that spot you want. And I'll tell you what, maybe I'll spend 5 minutes with the cunts going over some stuff. None of them will do it. I bet, right? All these fucking pros that are talking about how important it is that these young and upcoming players develop skills, play the way they want, learn the game, learn the flashes, learn the smokes. Not one of them will have sat down with them and fucking helped them out.
Oh, of course not.
With a demo. Let me tell you,
by the way, in the modern day,
Steel does that.
Yeah, but in the modern day where you can't buy people for love nor money in certain cases, you'd even potentially be grooming the next person you could actually bring in your team. Could even help you down the line.
Well, this is exactly what's happened here. I mean, this is the proof of the of the concept, right? But in that there is the reality that, like, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve his shot, but now we can start feeding in from the FPL drama and the politics of that. He's essentially earned his shot on FaZe by being given that like comfy, cozy, NiKo likes you, NiKo rates you safety net. Whereas a player like Butters, who's from the same country, had better stats than him, it achieved in less time, was kicked out. That's just fucked up. I'm happy for Bymas. I'm happy for any kids that get opportunities to break through and shine. Obviously, that's the lifeblood of the industry. But you cannot exclude some from what you're selling publicly as being an important development tool and offer that to others on the basis that some pros like this kid. It's not good enough. It's like, you know, I feel sorry for the kids that got kicked out, honestly.
Yeah, of course.
And it was a drama we missed at the time. It's a month-old drama, so look forward to being spammed by fucking Loba fans for the next 3 days. That'll be the next group. But anyway, we'll move on. He's already played the series because they've got games going on at the moment. They played against Spirit, and he didn't do too badly. Held his own. I think he got more kills than Cold Zero across 3 maps. So, you know, good start. Who knows? What other roster move happened? Yeah, we did talk about this briefly, but we only talked about it from the Maikelele leaving perspective.
Yes.
Godsent picked up Farlig. And I know Farlig is from Copenhagen Flames. Obviously, Copenhagen Flames were a team that were playing in Flashpoint, so I know you got to see this guy play a lot. I think if I remember rightly, weren't you like sort of saying this was like, you know, he was a good player, a good pickup. He probably could have even maybe gone to a perhaps better team than Godsent, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is, basically, Copenhagen Flames was a team that on paper should have done nothing in the entire tournament. Like, obviously, they didn't even get through the qualifier and they just got invited to, like, the last second, basically, because other teams weren't available. So when they actually were in Flashpoint, I was expecting, like, right, what is this, like, the 5th or 6th best Danish team? Surely this team can't be that good. Like, you haven't heard of most of these players. I'd heard of the Tessus guy because he was briefly in that optic lineup with MSL and those guys, if you remember. So I knew he had some skills, but even then I'd only briefly seen him. And when you watched it, right, actually, those 2 players did look good, actually. Like, Tessus looked particularly good. He actually looks like he has really good aim and could be a really skilled player one day. But then the Farlig guy, here's the problem. He was what he would appear, like a tier 2 AWPer. And I have to say, I am always super nervous about bringing those into tier 1 teams. It's a bit like the Zori guy over in Havu. Because the problem is, like, the levels in AWPing can be enormous. Like the person who gets like a lot of kills with the AWP, then you watch them and they're just doing a lot of the normal shots like the Zori guy was. It's like, you're not doing the crazy shit you're gonna have to actually do to be able to do that gun with how expensive it is at the tier 1 level. Like you're just gonna get eaten up, as we've seen by a lot of people. So the thing is, I'm not quite sure. I think he kind of straddles the line there. Like he does do some good shit. Sometimes he just looks like he was a tier 2 AWPer though. But at the same time, listen, the Danish scene's been crying out for an AWPer. Like they've barely fucking got any. That's why they kept the Yugi guy around for so long. So at this point in time, yeah, I agree. Like I'm amazed, like a North trying to get in. You know, they barely have any.
I don't feel like it was always like that. I feel like there was a
because KGB used to be pretty good. Cadian was pretty decent back in the day. There was some decent.
Yeah, but I'm talking about even NiKo with a C.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Yeah, you know, he was fucking ridiculous, like a kind of forgotten talent. So. Yeah, I mean, like from what I saw from the player, and obviously we watched like a lot of the Flashpoint games on this channel, and did like alternate commentary and stuff as a partnered stream. So we did watch quite a bit. He definitely impressed me. I think this could be a bit of a poison chalice for him, though. You know, like I'm not saying Maikelele was doing like amazing things in this team, but he was playing very competently. You know, he was doing like at the end of the day, it's like I said, they should never have made a roster move, in my opinion, anyway. Because this team was actually doing okay. Like, I mean, they're punching well above their weight. Sure. They just shouldn't have fucked with it at all. But he'd actually had an uptick in form since March. He was sort of coming back into a bit more like his old self. You know, nothing spectacular, nothing flashy, far from his career best. But he was handling himself well in series. You know, it was around that like 1 point whatever kind of mark that you would want an AWPer to be. And had some like really good individual series where he took over games. So I think like if Farlig's looking around this roster and thinking I'm gonna get some help while I settle in, I don't know, man. I mean, like I kind of feel Godsent was a team that was just greater than, you know, the sort of individual parts, like the sum of its parts.
They were. Yeah, there's no way all those players have turned the corner and just gotten 1.5 times better. Like, I would imagine, by the way, part of what's probably cool about the ethos of the team, I mean, this didn't turn out to work out with Maikelele unless something crazy emerges from behind the scenes, was the idea that because they had all been kicked out by the other teams, this was sort of the last chance saloon. I mean, they even named the team originally No Chance or whatever the fuck before Fame Godsent again. So you would think those players, if anything, would be the most, like, amenable players. Like, until things go really badly, why would we make a roster move? Like, isn't the whole thing like, we're all in this together, we've all been fucked over in the past, and now you're gradually doing it, like you're climbing up. Even earlier in the year were like not bad in some of the lands I saw them play. I think they were at the Ice Challenge thing. Like they were actually not, they were looking like, again, if you looked at the names, you kept thinking this team should be shit, and then every time you saw them in server, you're like, this is not bad actually, they're fucking way better than you'd expect. So I agree, like unless there's something really crazy, I'm talking drama level shit, I'm puzzled by the move, because even though on paper, maybe the Farlig guy is better than Maikelele, it's just like Maikelele's a pretty experienced player. And I'll even say this, as much as obviously he's had some sorts of personal problems in his team, that's why he gets booted all the time, he's clearly got some sort of drive for the game to still be playing now. Remember, guys, he was kicked out of NIP in like fucking 2015. This guy's playing half a decade later and still trying to make it as a
after winning tournaments with NIP.
Sure. Yeah, he even came back and stood in, won a tournament, they kicked him fucking again.
Yeah, I know. It's insane, actually. And you know, he's no spring chicken now. He's 29. He's as old as the coach, Devilwalk.
This was his last chance, surely.
Well, I don't know, because he wasn't playing all that bad. I think he's still got a little bit of brand value. It's just, like I say, I just can't think of a team he would fit into.
Yeah, but this is the problem. That's exactly the problem. That's what would get him in the door. And in fact, I'm sure even as a player, if he's competent still, that would get you on a team. So what happens is you go down a level or two. Maybe it's a Swedish team. Maybe it's just another one of these European mixed teams. You join one of those teams. Then you get back to this level. And the problem with players like him, I've seen it before. It's the same as players in League of Legends who get the toxic label. What happens is this, even though it's usually, there's some grain of truth at least to that. Like they were an arsehole, they were difficult to work. Like sometimes it's just that they were a star player, they were really demanding, like overly demanding, you know. But this is the one thing that's killer about it, that I find really fucked about the League of Legends scene and labeling people toxic. It becomes a get out of jail free card that every future teammate holds in his back pocket. And the second anything happens, even if they're being a massive cunt, they just whip the card out and go, he's toxic, that's why we're kicking him. Everything was his fault, even though, by the way, except for really extreme examples, it's almost never just one person, is it? Like when there's a massive problem in a team, it's usually like, for example, even if it's one guy who's lashing out and being verbally abusive, there normally is someone who's fucking playing shit or being an arsehole, but just in a passive-aggressive way. It's like the problem is there's certain types of people will never get the same acclaim as their kick, the fanfare rather. But like, yeah, basically my problem is this will just happen again and again. It's happened every time now. So I don't see how he's going to get like a cool group of people who aren't going to do it this time. No. In theory, these were the people who never should have done that. Stickhorn Crystal, are like, come on.
I know it does make me wonder what's going on, but I want to talk. Maybe is this a coaching decision? Because we've never really discussed Devilwalk in his role in Godsent, despite the fact that we all acknowledge Godsent are punching well above their weight and doing well, and none of that shine, none of that credit seems to have gone towards Devilwalk, who very experienced player, won a major and then kind of struggled to hold his own as a player, went into coaching, and not a lot of people talk about him. Now I'm biased as fuck because I know the dude and I like the dude. But the one thing I'll say is when I've watched him, when he's been coaching this team and he's been at events, like he's not fucking playing around, dude. Like he is fucking serious. Like he is, pointing at the guys and like, what the fuck you doing that for? And like, he's like Alex Ferguson all up in this motherfucker. You know what I mean? And it's like, it makes me wonder if he is like one of the rare examples in CS where the coach is kind of actually in charge. And as a result of that, makes me wonder if maybe him and Maikelele have had a clash of sorts, because that's always liable. Maikelele's a big personality. If he's told to do something, he's going to give his input about whether or not he thinks he should do it.
It also doesn't help that Devilwalk is Swedish, because one of the other things that we've learned across Maikelele's career, this is why he essentially started the team that became FaZe, is this guy, for some reason, his own countrymen are the ones who don't fuck with him. Like, there's something about his demeanor or whatever he's like in the game that they just can't get along with. I don't know what it is. It's always puzzled me, but obviously the other famous example was always Moddy. The same shit with him. He had to go play with Danish teams or Norwegian teams. Like,
Moddy's a good analogy actually, because I mean he was like a very special case as really talented Swedish dude who just couldn't get on a Swedish team. Obviously he was in Fnatic and stuff, but he never got to stay in those teams for whatever reason. He was like the Swedish non-Swede. So yeah, do you think Devilwalk might have had something to do with it then? And also, do you think by extension we should give Devilwalk some credit for how Godsent have been doing?
I mean, if I had to guess, I assume he would, because here's the thing. Now I think about it. The team's Godsent. Pronax is involved. Pronax and Devilwalk were thick as thieves, obviously, during their careers. Yeah. Like, it would make sense that he would have been given power. Like, if anything, if Pronax owns the fucking team, sounds like the perfect person to say, go ahead, Devilwalk, you can do what you want or whatever. Then I'd also say, I think you're probably onto something there. Like, one of the ways you can usually tell if a coach is good or does something, aside from talking to him, obviously, is you try to figure out, you do basically like a scientific approach. You try to go, right, what was this player like before the team, after the team, what were they like in the next? You figure it out like that, right? Well, in this team, again, if you've got a whole bunch of people that everyone else thinks are whack, washed up, or were never good anyway, and then suddenly they perform way above their level, I mean, it'd be a big coincidence if the coach is doing nothing, wouldn't it? Like, I would assume he's probably doing some good shit, mixed with the fact that he's probably got people who, in theory, can be molded because the fact they probably are on the last chance, and then they've that young guy, Madden, or whatever the fuck, who's coming up and looks half decent.
Yeah, like I say, I think I'm intrigued. I want to see where this move can go. Because Farlig, what I'm worried about is he's gonna go into that kind of like black hole we've seen so many fucking Danish players kind of go into. Like, they break through on an all Danish team, they get picked up, maybe up to the next level, or they go to an international team, and then they just fall off, and you don't ever hear about them. And it's not because they played bad. I mean, just think about the route that Asilian sort of had to go. And, like, all the teams he played on, and, and now he's actually won a fucking tournament and won a bunch of money and is an in-game leader on a promising team. It's just, like, it's sad that it takes fucking 4 years for you to, to sort of walk that road. But I think Farlig's, like, a good player. I don't know. I think this is an underwhelming first big move for him. I don't think it's commensurate to the talent he has. Also,
the one other thing I have to say about this is, since, as we referenced at the end of that, I mean, actually, we didn't know this at the time, but you said at the end of the show, like, I'll try and get Maikelele and do an interview or whatever. And he obviously since then came out and basically was like, I'm going to reveal it all myself, and said like basically like hyped it that he's got some mad shit.
Yeah,
to
well,
block.
listen, me, as I said, me and Bill get along like a fucking house on fire, so he knows where to find me.
Yeah, but this is my problem. This better not then just be some twitlonger type level shit of like, oh, and then you know we just didn't get along in the practice. That's not big enough to hype.
No,
like
that's
that.
why
If
you need a journalist.
Like
That's the right question.
It needs to be a massive story. Like this needs to be some shit. Like you know, like something mental. Like someone just kicked you to not pay your money back, or something outrageous. Like they all went behind your back and just screwed you with your own. Like there has to be some really next level. Otherwise, like why make such a big deal? I get it, you were kicked. I get that part. But if you were just kicked because the players genuinely were just like, listen, mate, no offense, but we just want to play with someone else. That shouldn't be a drama story, surely.
Well, I like to say,
if you're going to tell a big
reach
game,
out to him.
Better be big.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him because I'm saying like shows my ego. I call people out for being narcissists and egotistical, and I'm like going, yeah, Maikelele, reach out to me, brother, as if he's like watching the show and everything I do right now, like I'm waiting for him to pick up the phone. Fucked up thing is as well because of the sponsorship I have with. I'm meant to be interviewing people for their channel anyway, so why don't I just go out and like DM him? Lazy as fuck, like.
No, the funny thing is, people would think we're just saying this because we're content creators. You also, by the way, would do a way better job coming off as likable to the public as you explain what is essentially complaining if you do it with a journalist. If the journalist is the one who asks you that question, if he's the one who says, I'm going to have to press you here, like, do any of your teammates have any sort of bad blood? I know your ex-teammates, you might be friends with, that we can set these things up so that you don't come off like a massive con. Because if you notice a theme of this show, twitlongers or your own approach to it do not go well because you never know how you're being perceived by the other person. I'd say I've done it myself a lot of times in my career. It's what I've always tried to do with the players I liked that I knew basically, yeah, they are arseholes on some level, but on another level, they just really want to win or something, you know. You figure out a way to allow themselves to express themselves and come across the way you know they want to come across.
Yeah, I've always framed it this way. Like when I do interviews with players, you know, I always tell them beforehand, like, I'm going to ask a bunch of difficult questions. And I have to ask those questions because if I don't, my credibility's shot because the community are thinking them. If I don't ask those questions that everyone in the community can put together, then clearly I'm not doing my job. But I'm asking you them, not to antagonize you or as some form of gotcha. It's the perfect fucking way for you to get your version across, unfettered, without the noise of social media. So I'm doing you a favor. And they go, oh, yeah, I suppose. And then, like, you go into it and you ask them, so why did you have sex with that sheep? I don't know, just timestamp that. And then, you know, they frame it in a way that everyone can get along with, right? Sometimes.
How do you have to timestamp that? You didn't even mention a player. It's just indiscriminate, hypothetical.
No, but now people are going to think there is.
Right, okay.
They're going to think it is. Also, as well, like, obviously, bring that up again when there's Welsh guys on the show. Come on, like we're trying to erase that part of our history, Duncan. We're trying to leave it in the past where it belongs. But yeah, you know, so I
heard a joke like that recently. I hadn't heard this one. You probably heard it before. Yeah, where they go like, you know, why do they herd the sheep like right up to the top of them rocks and that? You've heard it before, haven't you? So that they have to back up when they're near the edge of the cliff.
Yeah. You know, it's like, mate, I've heard them all. Velcro gloves, tuck the back legs in your wellies, do it up against the cliff so they push back. Fucking hell, you know what I mean? I fucking heard it. Can you imagine what it's like?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Going to the north. He's a fucking woolly back, he is. Like, you wouldn't even believe, mate. You wouldn't even believe the things I've heard. But anyway, yeah, so Maikelele, the invite's there. We can sit down and we can do it and talk about it. If you've got a story to tell, you know,
don't be sheepish. That won't even make sense now because that's been time stamped out. So
exactly. Yeah, you're just gonna go, don't be sheepish, and then we just
everyone just laughs childishly. Like, it's not even funny that.
Not even funny that, mate. This show's going downhill after 118 episodes. 158 actually, if you can believe it. We've been doing it for 158 episodes. Right, here's another crazy story. Now, I don't want to say I'm prescient.
But
okay. Where are we going here? Oh, I know it. Is this going to be about coaching by any chance?
And you're the father. No, I don't want to say that I'm prescient. But I did say on this show, right, that I was worried Smoothie's career was going to go into a terminal dive, a nosedive that he wasn't going to be able to pull out of, right?
It is one of the maddest movies you've ever seen in your life, obviously, isn't it?
So hang on, let me just get this straight. To get back at big, because they talk German.
I'll show you. Exactly. Also, I love the fact that like randomly,
the worst revenge effort I've ever seen.
The best part about it as well is the way that like it's not even just Smooya joins their team. It's a big set. Just Snappy's just caught up in the fucking drift of this as well. He's alive still, and he's just in this team as well. Sound they're just in the team then, aren't they?
So he leaves big just before a major. Doesn't play at a major. Still hasn't played at a major. Ends up playing for a South African team, I think it was initially. Then did he join Chaos for a bit?
He was on Chaos at the beginning of Flashpoint.
Yeah, and then
literally the whole pandemic thing kicked him from that because obviously he couldn't get his visa.
Yeah, but equally as well, you know, like listen, I'm just making this bit up probably.
It was intimated. They also didn't get along with some of the players in the team.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of tears when he was like, right, lads, I've just been told that because I'm a rat-human hybrid, I'm not allowed to stay in the country, so I gotta go. Bye. And like, there was no tears. Was there? Like, no one gave a fuck. No one was like weeping about it. Like, oh god, we've lost Smooya. They just went, yeah, we'll just pick up some fucking.
They were just like, oh well,
average AWPer and just.
You shooting off, are you? Oh yeah. See, thanks for. And then he goes. Last second he goes. Oh, but what if maybe there's a way I can get a special bit that you already called the Uber? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
$2.
What if I get the last minute? No, it's like steal. Just
yeah, exactly.
Bye.
Yeah,
bye.
You know what?
Shut the fuck up. You're right. So he goes and then he comes back, and then didn't he do like an interview or something saying like, oh, I'll put out a tweet like, big surprise or something.
Yeah. He made it sound sick.
And now he is joining a Mongolian team called Tiger, apparently. He's in talks to join Tiger.
So what are you telling me, Richard? No one's made this connection yet. How am I the only one who's made this connection? So you're saying the Rat King is now going to become the Tiger King?
Not bad.
Just saying.
Not bad.
Just saying.
But anyway, they did win. They did win the Road to Rio Asia qualifier, I think.
Against who?
Tyloo.
Exactly.
Tyloo. So anyway, he's not going to be going alone. Snappy.
This is also the maddest part of the story. Why is he just drawn up into this? I know. Why is he just dragged along in the undertow with fucking Smooya? Like
Smooya's like, listen, Snappy, I can get you in, Tiger.
Would you be willing to live outside of Europe?
Speak a word of Danish around me.
He goes, listen, would you be willing to move outside of Europe to play? Snappy goes, well, you know, if it was the right NA team. He goes, the right team, yeah? It's the right team, yeah. Yeah, if, you know, I wouldn't mind living in America. Wouldn't mind where. He goes, yeah, I mean, if the salary was good enough, though. Yeah, I guess I'd give it a go. Right, come with me.
Pack your bags.
Exactly.
Pack your bags.
Right. First stop to Mongolia. What we do there? Like boot camp or something? Nah, that's the whole plan, isn't it? Tell you what, that God B's going to be fucking begging me by the end of the month. Give me a break. Like, I bet God B's just looking at what that big dickhead.
He couldn't give less of a fuck. Like this, there's got to be something I'm not saying. There has to be a fucking twist to this story, mate, because I can't believe that one of the most promising players in Europe, not just like the UK, because that's like hardly anything. It goes like fucking Smooya, two of the cunts on endpoint, then Sam. You know, like that's that's like the hierarchy. Tom Jones Wales as well. He's in the chat. Show him some love. Jaffro's back, ladies and gentlemen. But like. You're playing on a Mongolian team, mate. Like, what the fuck has happened there? Like,
put it this way. Here's the obvious thing people are missing. This is how you know Smooya somehow has fucked his career 10 ways to Sunday. Because wouldn't he logically be the player that, like, the Godsent people would pick up? That's, like, he's got way more experience than this Farlig guy. Like, he's a good AWPer. They've all fucking played with him in some context. I'm sure in FPL or something before. Like, yeah, I agree with you. The lack of offers is mental. I mean, basically,
I haven't seen him even linked, though. Like,
no, there's never even rumours, mate.
No, not a rumor, nothing behind the scenes. No one's, like, tweeting out. Like, there's no screenshots of him, like, playing with anyone again. It's just like, how can Mongolia be the best place? It's fucking wild. It's so mental out. I like, and again, how long ago was it? He was like literally going to go to a major with me.
Yeah, it was beginning of 2019, I think.
Was it the beginning of 2019?
Oh, beginning of 2018, maybe.
Yeah.
Does that make more sense? Yes.
That makes more sense. It was 2018, right? Surely.
No, it must have been the beginning of 2019, because what happened is 2018 was the ESL Cologne, that was the middle of the year. Then he got kicked out, came back. So it was before Katowice 2019. So it was only just over a year ago. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I would say I will assume the fact it's not just Smooya, but it's also Snappy, who probably could get into some like half-decent Danish team. It makes me assume they probably have some money. It's just that obviously on its surface.
I mean, it isn't confirmed yet, but it is like, I think this was a DK story, so it's as good as true, unless like, I don't know, Smooya's like, haha, I was just trolling the whole time.
No, as far as I've heard, this is a real thing.
Japan, see.
I've heard it's real.
Yeah. So there you go. Right, other story. We had one. Oh, I'll bring this up because you wrote an article about it.
All right.
The marriage is back. It's on again.
This is one of the most metal ones I've ever seen.
Yeah, Neo and Taz back together. They're in a Polish team called Honoris. Definitely better than the previous effort. Black Devils. Good job. Good job, guys. You know, excellent work. Neo, Taz, Stomp, Ryko, and Prism. Never heard of those guys. But Neo and Taz are back. And there's a statement here. Let me just read it. It's obviously Taz doing the statement. You know how he does it. After leaving Virtus Pro, I played for other organizations, but I wasn't lucky enough to stay in one for long. In any case, including, didn't he own one of them? How the fuck did that work? Anyway, whatever. In any case, we were struggling with issues not entirely dependent on the form of the team. After years of playing at the highest level, I still feel hungry for fighting and winning, but I wanted to do it fully on my own terms, on my own responsibility, and with my own long-term vision. I did not believe that any of the organizations would give me such flexibility. Creating our own esports home with Philip, we can be sure that we will have the last word. So this is kind of a little bit like what we actually recommended them to do. If you remember, back when sort of Virtus Pro was falling apart and then they ended up playing on these like dog shit teams, I was like, listen, guys, why don't you just go and get one of these VC groups or any sponsor, anyone with any money in fucking Poland. It doesn't even have to be Poland, anywhere in the world, and say, look, we're fucking Neo and Taz. Like, you know who the fuck we are. Give us some money. Let's start a brand. We want equity, and let's go and do it. And I don't know the specifics of this deal. I don't know how much they own or how much money is behind this brand. But they're back working together. Sounds like they're going to be driving this team forward. And they've brought in a bunch of Polish players who are realistically not the most known. They have some sort of modest achievements. I think one of them played on that Izako Boars team or whatever, which is sponsored by that Polish streamer, I think. I don't think the team's going to do anything. But, you know, those guys are hanging in there. And the theme of your article was it's good to see that these guys are still fighting and not doing the cynical check stealing thing out there.
I mean, there's a few angles on this one. So first of all, in terms of my article, basically the gist of the article is that they are absolutely wrong to think that they can make it back and be pros and there's going to be an awesome cover. Like, that is the one thing I do stress. It's just that my point is, if you look at what ridiculous careers those guys have had, like, people don't seem to get, like, all I'll say is this, and it's a provable fact. Nobody who is a Polish player was ever a top-level relevant player in a top team unless they played with Neo Taz. That is a fact. There is no other player in the history of the game who ever went to another team and was in some top team. It never happened, ever. So as a result, these guys themselves weren't supposed to make it to the top level. They were supposed to be some like also-rans like Oscar was in 1.6 or fucking Guardian before he came to CS Source. Like, these were supposed to be guys trapped in a little region where no one gives a fuck. And even if you're good, you'll never get together 5 people who'll have a good enough team. You'll have no sponsorship. And so what you'll do is you'll go to a World Cyber Games and ESWC. You'll come fucking 18th place because you don't play these teams. They won't ever give you a scrim. And as a result, that's like the highlight of your year. And the best you can hope for is some deranged fans just screaming Fox over and over again on HLTV forums. That's about the only fame you're going to fucking get. So the idea that like they got all this, not just success, people forget this. They won like 2.5 times more majors than motherfuckers like Forest. Like, they weren't even just like fucking around. They were just straight, like, basically there's a whole bunch of players in 1.6 who were legit, by the way, justifiably CS royalty, who don't have the majors they should have because Neo and Taz stole them all from them. It's actually fucking an amazing story. So my point is, if you've been through that much like uncertainty, you've overcome the odds a million times, you've even done shit like just keep the same lineup for 3.5 years where everyone else just upgrades every year to the new hot thing. Like if you've done all that and you keep winning and keep being relevant and keep getting back to the top, yeah, the millionth time when everyone else goes, listen, it's it this time. You can't do this. You're just going to go, well, I can't. I've done it before. And this is where, unfortunately, there's a sad part to this story where I do believe they're delusional, which is Cuban recently also did an interview. Very interesting timing, right? Obviously, he was the coach of Virtus.pro for many years.
He always lurking when these.
And in the interview, he basically justifies their delusion. Like he essentially suggests that the reason why their levels dropped off is because they were setting up Bialy and snacks. Well, listen, is true, but this is the problem. I always thought, and what I respected, is that they understood that their individual game couldn't do that. Therefore, that's why they necessitated themselves to have to be the supportive elements. If they really believed the whole time, it was like, listen, I was letting you and Bialy carry for now, but you know, I could have just taken over at any moment and done it. Like, you couldn't. Come on. Like we've seen you try it. We've seen you even go to these shit teams. If it was true, it's not like it wasn't like Virtus.pro ended and you've been in hibernation since then. You were in FaZe Clan, for fuck's sake, Neo. Taz was in his own team where he could have done anything he wanted. True. Like you guys had the chance to show if you were skilled in those teams. You didn't. You still look just like at the same level those players were that, and you weren't very good. And then the last thing to say is also, even though I agree with the sentiment, like you say there, they should have made their own team. They should have done that in the end of 2017 when they could have parlayed it for the max.
But I think that's when we said it. To be fair, I mean.
Now it's like you're doing it to like who the fuck knows who these investors are and what their future in that sense is. It feels like it's a massive long shot to me.
Here's what I will say though, right? Like I don't mind players like Taz and Neo having that delusion. I don't mind because it's kind of like Michael Jordan, not when he came back from baseball and still won titles and was still sick and because he just got God mode. But it's like when he came back again and played for, what was it, the fucking Wizards or whatever.
Yeah.
That was, that's the part of the story. No, there's a reason Last Dance is like, yeah, it's all this shit over here. What about those? What about those? But you forgive the Jordans doing stuff
of course,
like that. Yeah. Because obviously the fucking part of their, of their brain is that they can do the unthinkable. They can do it once, twice. The unthinkable is just reality to them. They do think it, and they do it. Most players don't. So I do forgive them the delusion.
Oh, it's understandable. I'm just saying, like, they are wrong. Because here's the problem.
Yeah, objectively.
It's not like it works every other time.
I saw from Neil when he was playing at FaZe, by the way, that made me think it was garbage. There wasn't like... But
everyone was pulling for him. We all wanted him to be good in that team. We wanted it to work out and him to somehow be the in-game leader. Of course we did. Same with the Dren. We all wanted it to turn around. It's just that you have to face reality eventually, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing I don't think a lot of people understand. Like when we talk about when like old cunts like me and Duncan talk about Neo and Adren and people like that, we've been around them their entire careers. We watched them. Like it's a little bit surreal because we've kind of grown in tandem with them. So we have a special affinity with those players. We don't just remember when they were good. Because we remember them in 1.6, for fuck's sake. We remember them before 1.6. We remember teams you guys wouldn't have heard of. So we're always inclined, well, I certainly am, to like, yeah, all right then, you get to do it. It'd be the same for Forrest. I mean, he still maintains a level that's I think unthinkable for a player of his age and for someone who's been playing as long as him. But again, if Forrest like dropped off a cliff tomorrow and then it was like really embarrassing watching him play and he ended up leaving and then he retired and then he came back, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I'd go along with the delusion because it's Forrest. Normal players, who gives a fuck? These guys are legends of the game. But I mean, you're absolutely right. This project is probably going nowhere in a serious capacity, and I wish they would think about a little bit ahead this time. So they should have done this in 2017. They didn't. Think about what you're going to do next, which is what you should be doing now. And that could be anything. It could be.
This is also where, like, I'm going to say this again because I like to bring this theme up every time I can because it just pops the bubble of delusion that everyone in esports lives in. right? I'm the guy normally who's saying, like, I actually don't know if esports needs to be mainstream. I don't know if it will get that much bigger. It will in certain other games. I don't know if it will in CSGO. Maybe we've plateaued. Maybe we need to monetize. Like, that's why my project is about monetizing the people we have now, not imaginary people that don't exist that watch the Disney Channel. Like, I'm not trying to go that route. But as a result, right, what tilts me is when everyone else is telling me, and it's half of my cunts who turned up like 2 years ago, telling me, no, Thorin, you're wrong. It's going to be the biggest thing. It's going to be the next sport. It's enormous. None of your actions suggest it is true. None of your actions in business suggest you believe that is true. Nicola Nyholm would not be trying desperately to flip every fucking asset he has today if it was true that esports was going to be 10 times bigger in 10 years from now. The people who run all these fucking teams would not be cutting Overwatch League players in a pandemic. They would be signing Overwatch League players for pennies on the dollar and making the best team so that they have the dynasty in 2 years when it all kicks off. So in this same sense, right, I would say the same exact scenario is if these players actually believed this shit, then that is exactly why they would do these sorts of moves. They would flip and they would get their org and they would get the equity and they'd stay in one and they'd build a project. They don't like, they still act as though they're just the guy waiting and they're going to get out next month. So it's just so, that's the thought that I feel is so fucked up about it. It's like their actions just don't suggest they really believe esports is this huge thing and they're going to be part of it.
Mm. Yeah, like you've got a point there. I've talked about this quite a bit. I mean, there's all these rumors going around as well that there's like Overwatch franchises now. They're like really trying to strong arm Blizzard to get some money back because COVID.
Yeah,
like
completely
fucked. Yeah,
basically the implication is we'll just leave if you don't give us the money. Put it this way, I'll give you an example. Right, just because it's someone we know, it'll be like a neutral party in this one. I'm not hating right now, but I would apply the same logic, for example, to an OG from the scene. I would say that about Odie from Dignitas, right?
Yeah.
Listen. He, in my opinion, it looks like he thought fucking $1 million or whatever, a couple million for this thing. I thought that's a joke. I'll sell this shit now. Mate, it would have 20x'd. That's what you could have done to that org if you'd held on. Now, maybe you needed money. Maybe I know you'd reinvested in Rogue or whatever, you know. There's angles to it, but that does suggest you did not believe that it was going to be huge 5 years later. You definitely didn't know where League of Legends was going to be 5 years later. I don't claim I do, whether that's the point. It's everyone else telling me they do.
No, but what I'll also say is as well, I do think it's different for like the OGs. I think, and I'll tell you why, because like you get tired of holding the fucking line, brother.
Oh,
I mean, like I said this about Jason Lake. I think we talked about it last time he was on my stream, and I can't speak for Audie, even though I've known him for a long time. You know, maybe that's an interview we can do. I haven't talked to Audie in sort of an official capacity for a long time. Be interesting to talk about all that 76ers bullshit and stuff. But I mean, like, you get tired of holding the line. So like what Audie's been doing it since 90 something, like literally right at the start.
Sure.
So at what point do you say, fucking hell, I'm tired. I'm tired of waiting for the big ship to come in when all these other ones are coming, and I'm the one saying, no, it's going to be bigger, and I'm promoting it, and I'm doing this. And he ran an org that had, it was something insane. Like they had representation in something like 50 fucking games. Can you even imagine that? I couldn't even name them. And you're organizing that and micromanaging that, and then someone comes in and goes, "Listen, mate, you can have this. It's not the massive payday. It's not buy your own island payday, but it's enough money for you, your family, everyone else to live comfortably on." And you get to relax and enjoy that, like, you know, next phase of your life, because we're all getting old. And you know, if someone had come along and offered me that, and I was in his position, I'd have took it too. And it's got nothing to do. Personally, I do believe. I mean, I'm not crazy about it, Duncan. I'm not like a fucking deranged evangelical. I don't think esports is 10 times bigger in 10 years. I think it's bigger. I think it's a little bit more mainstream. I think we continue the slow and steady climb to the top. I've always believed in it because, trust me, nobody had more reasons to get out of esports than me at various points. I stick around because I do believe. But yeah, I think there's some people in who are, like you say, especially the cunts who just got in because they saw a PDF file and, you know, from an investment group that told them it was like the next big thing and it's unregulated and unlimited profits and it's like a Ponzi scheme. And you know, those are the guys that think, oh, we're gonna be huge. The reality is we're not. 10 years from now, we're going to have progressed, but it's not going to be huge.
The main thing is, like, I know you've talked about, but I don't believe anyone's ever shown the information, because you know when that JP Morgan, or was it the Morgan Stanley report? Yeah, Morgan Stanley, sorry. When Morgan Stanley did the report, that basically is what predicated the investment into the Overwatch League, and it explained the base case and the bull case and the bear case. Like, when it did this, as far as I know, I believe the reason no one's ever like leaked all of it is because I think you might even get in legal trouble if you do that. Like, it's obviously a document you have to pay for. It would probably be considered like illegally distributing someone's product or something. That have some sort of copyright claim.
You know, that might be possible. I never looked into it.
But I'll just say this, like, I wish people had that document though, because that was the one where the second I saw it, I even told even people like Monty, who were friends of mine, who were going, they were just heading into the fucking Overwatch. I told them, like, listen, I'd like it if the game could make it. It's a good game, but like what it's saying in that report cannot ever be true. These aren't just lies. These are outrageous lies. Like, these are lies built on lies. Like, you take an assumption and then you make that the premise, then you make that a fact, then you multiply that like an amplifier. Like, this was craziness. Like I think I've quoted this stat before. One of the reasons why they claimed they would have millions of playoff viewers was because they did a survey. Again, God knows how many people. This sounds like one of those sociology studies where you interview 10 people and then you just say all men like have this trait, right? They did a survey of Overwatch casual players, and because in their survey group 40% said they would watch Overwatch, they took that number, took the maximum player in the maximum player base in the entire world in Overwatch. By the way, that includes people in countries they never interviewed. And they just said, take 40% of that. That's a reasonable, that was the base expectation, I believe, for the viewership. They just did 40% of the entire global. Now, I don't know if you know anything about esports games generally, but like, put it this way, Counter-Strike isn't getting fucking like 40% of the people watching the fucking tournaments. Of course not. That'd be ridiculous.
Mate, I still love the bit where it was compared to the WWE. That still blows my mind.
But it's like, because people don't know how out there these documents are, they think, like, I've heard this said so many times, like, oh, if someone comes in esports, they're going to do all their due diligence. This is part of the due diligence. They're going to read that and go, well, they wouldn't lie to me. I paid $10,000 for this thing. And then they're going to get a consultant. Well, the first consultant they get is going to be an absolute cunt who's just working for commission, telling them everything they want to hear. Like, you really can get tricked in 2020.
Yo, for fuck's yeah. I mean, that goes without saying. It's there's definitely a grift going on. I think that there are legit sustainable business models and good ideas that are running sort of parallel or perpendicular or whatever the fuck you want to call it to the grift, right? Like it's
I mean, the streaming shit's for real. Like, that's why here's another example of chapter 1,000,001 of why TSM are scum fucks. Because TSM love to tell you that they make money as an organization. They don't tell you they obviously don't make money from the fucking League of Legends team in any context whatsoever. And profit I'm talking about. They make their money from having guide websites and being in all these other games and having massive streamers in games like Fortnite. That's how they make the money. So what they're not telling you there is, that's like if I was like a fucking secret, I'll make a ridiculous example, like a crypto millionaire, right? But the joke is I also run a butcher shop for fun, but I'm terrible at running a butcher shop and it loses money. But I go, what are you talking about? Thorin Enterprises makes money. It's like, that would be the most disingenuous way to frame it, because you're trying to make it sound like you make the money from the League of Legends team, which, because obviously this is always said in counter to us saying things like, even franchise leagues at the LCS, you lose money. Like, they always try to come with that angle to sell the bullshit. So, like, I agree. There's definitely legit sides to esports. The stupidest thing is, that's exactly where half these companies are blind as fuck. Like, that's why every big tournament should be allowing co-streaming of famous streamers. That's the fucking future. We know that, by the way, those people even make money, remember, from donations, people watching. That's even a monetized model to stream. You know, none of the rest of us have that. I'll one day do an article, right? I haven't done it yet, because I basically haven't been able to get the straight fire hookup, because I'd have to have some Koreans basically, and it'd be people who are super embedded in the Korean scene. They might not want to come public with this yet, but one day I will publish an article that will literally show why every fucking idiot who thinks Riot Games has made the game and the scene better every year doesn't know what they're talking about. Because here's basically the bomb that a few people will know, but they won't understand how deep it goes. When Monty and Doa used to do that commentary, the English language stream in Korea, you used to have to pay a subscription fee to be able to watch the VODs, right? Or you could only watch the stream like at low quality. That was making them millions of dollars a year. Millions, Richard, to watch fucking Korean League of Legends super early in the morning just with English casters, right? That is by definition, you killed the golden goose. You fucking did it. No one had ever gotten pay-per-view on that level. Even GSL, they used to complain like motherfuckers about that. Nobody was complaining. People loved this product. It was beloved and making insane money. And these stupid fucks killed it. And then had the goal years later when Tencent pulled the purse strings to go, I haven't got any more money to send the casters to Worlds and stuff. Meanwhile, they just met with like a round of applause as though they're fucking emperor with no clothes. I don't get it. It's so wild. Like, people don't realize the actual legit parts of esports get fucking strangled by the cancers, the parasites of esports.
Yeah, I've talked about this quite a bit. I wrote an article. I don't even think I ever published this one, but it was talking about, like, it took all the quotes where Riot were like saying, oh, we care about the esports ecosystem. And I was kind of likening it to, you know, it's like you trampling through a fucking, like, you know, an ant farm. And yeah, I care about the ecosystem, me, but you don't look at what's under your feet or what the cost is. You just want to get from point A to point B. And Riot were like that. They only cared about the ecosystem of Riot games. They didn't care about the ecosystem of esports at all. And then they've spent sort of a large period of time kind of retconning history as if they were like largely responsible for getting us to where we are. I mean, there was a very dark point where they were responsible for setting us back in a lot of ways too, right? I mean, you know, let's not forget what was going on. If you care about the ecosystem holistically, you don't go to ESL and say we can't have a rival MOBA at the same tournament as us.
Still related to this day, of course, because they're all liars.
Yeah. Well, listen, me, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, this is how you know it's real. Look at the people who were saying it. Scoots, Too Good, me, Thorin. You ever know these motherfuckers lie? You ever know these motherfuckers lie about anything? So I'm gonna tell you, legit ESL, right? Intel Extreme Masters. The slogan for that, you know, what they used to say underneath, the motto was the world's greatest gamers. Come and see the world's greatest gamers. Can't see the world's greatest Dota gamers, I guess. So ESL had to create ESL 1, a parallel brand, just to put that on to placate and appease Riot Games so they could keep their contracts there. That is not the actions of a company that cares about the ecosystem, because the ecosystem, whether you like it or not, includes rival games too.
Yeah, it has to be holistic, obviously. Exactly, yeah.
Yes, that is what an ecosystem is. You don't go like, you know, yeah, this ecosystem's great. Hate all these fucking insects, so we get rid of them. Now the birds have got nothing to eat, so now the birds die. Yeah, we don't need the birds, do we? Yeah, all right. Then now the fucking things that eat birds have got nothing to eat, you mad cunt. And it's an ecosystem. Yeah, mosquitoes are annoying, but we need them. We're not comparing Dota to mosquitoes. It should be the other way around, if anything. But, I mean, you know, there was just a lot of companies anyway at that time that just fucking, like, literally trampled through esports. And it was just like, if we just get as much as we can and grab onto as much as we can, it doesn't matter what we do long term, like how much more we fuck up. And Riot Games are one of those companies. Now, listen, I'll also be the first to admit they've done a lot of good for esports. I mean, the sort of the mainstream success of League of Legends is hugely important to everything we've achieved out here, right? I mean, like, you know, there's no getting away from that fact. I think if it wasn't League of Legends, it could have been another game, but could have, would have, should have, right? It wasn't.
There's certainly never been a game as big that was a proper multiplayer. Like, Fortnite doesn't count because that's just for casuals. Like, the idea that the esport is as big as it is, still the only one I'm aware of that's like entirely global. Everywhere.
Yeah, and you know, we went in incremental stages. You know, Destiny and people who were around at that time identified the shift, especially in Korea, which is why people monitor PC bang data to this day. You know, that people weren't playing StarCraft 2 anymore, and that there were problems out there, and basically Blizzard fucked up with the way they handled the transfer of Broodwater StarCraft 2 in that region. That was a
There's another company that killed the golden goose.
They always do it, mate.
Our game that we haven't even invested anything in is fucking televised on 2 channels in Korea. Probably should just kill that, actually.
Yeah. These companies are kill that because we want them to play this new version that no one likes. But don't worry, what we can do is we can predicate that move on that big betting scandal because people have lost confidence, and we can go, look, new game, new start, everything will be all right over here. You know? And then you fucking strong-arm Kesper and all the other people to play the game, and now look where we're at. But for a time, anyway, history lessons over, but for a time, you know, it was StarCraft 2, and people were on board with that, and we were getting tens of thousands of views, and people were going, man, League of Legends come and blew that out the water and blew the doors off. So, You know, and then in a way, like you say, Fortnite is for casuals, but I think it picked up the football a little bit and ran with it. Not so much in esports sense, and I think we do need to stop blurring the lines. But streamer culture, online gaming culture, it helped sort of push that a little bit more. And then what happens is people go, "Ninja's playing with Drake? I know those names." And then they look, and then, you know, the occasional person that isn't a moron sticks around and gets into esports. So we definitely had like sort of a flood of new people coming in. But yeah, man, I think I agree with you. Like, holy shit, like someone has to do the definitive, the real history of esports, and all the near misses, all the fuck ups, all the goal. Because there's we could have fucking 10 Christmases with golden gooses that have been fucking killed.
That's how you know it will somehow survive and eventually thrive, is because every other idiot would tell the story that it all just went amazingly the whole way. It didn't. Like, that joke is this: half the time the very people who were like the wardens of esports were the ones chopping the fucking head off the thing, and it would have to just grow back somehow miraculously, and then they just do it again in some short-sighted measure. So if anything, the fact it survived this many cunts just shows that actually it probably is inevitable. It's just going to keep, whether it gets slowed down or not, the progress will continue to march on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, CPL, CGS, Hip Hop Gamer League.
That's why I said on Twitter, mate, Overwatch League will just go down as the second CGS as far as I'm concerned. It just will.
I don't see how it can pull out of the nosedive now.
No, because even though they keep using angles like that, like, yeah, but what if Blizzard props them up for a while? Yeah, but what if they get something in year 4? It's like, just tell me when the viewers go up. That's all I need to know. Just tell me by what possible mechanism the viewers will go up. If you can't tell me that, it will never succeed.
I've never seen an esport do that, by the way. I've never seen an esport hit like, so it would be the first. I've never seen an esport hit like a terminal decline where you've had like, what was it, a 68% drop in viewership in terms of year upon year since the move to YouTube. 68% drop in viewership. And obviously, I know, sure, that's when you compare Twitch to YouTube live viewership, it's kind of it's not apples and oranges, but it went down red apples and green apples.
Sorry, yeah, of course, it went down a little bit.
So you are going to lose a little bit, and then you gain in other ways, supposedly.
I mean, here's a cynical thing you could say, though, Richard. Knowing these companies, I'd say that part of the reason you do the move to YouTube is because you know the viewership's going down anyway, and you can then just offset that. Well, you understand we've changed platforms, we've got blah. People, you know, there's a cynical side to that too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, apparently, you know, according to my source that I talked to, it was a lot more about that infrastructure stuff. You know, with the what is it they have over there, and the Google fucking cloud or whatever the fuck.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Someone explained it to me. I was like, it's all over my head. I probably wrote it down somewhere. But yeah, basically they were paying. I think they were using Amazon or something for like their online shit.
Their cloud services, their like server shit.
Yeah. And then like when they went across to YouTube,
they gave them all.
It was like a holistic solution. But equally as well, this is why they had to throw, like, there was a lot of, you know, bargaining chips being put on the table.
Oh, one thing I'll say, by the way, because I know
CDL and then just his Hearthstone as an afterthought.
I actually think that the obvious example people are going to think is a counter to this. They're going to say, what about StarCraft 2? StarCraft 2 is doing well. That's probably the stupidest myth ever. The reason why, by the way, people said StarCraft 2 is dead is, one, because they were the most obnoxious concept. They were all the Johnny-come-latelys who were like, I've always been an esport, and they just arrived like 5 minutes. I'm Box's biggest fan, like in 2015 or something, you know, like they were the most obnoxious people. They were the equivalent of the Overwatch fans now, essentially. And the big thing is, obviously, people were memeing them by saying their game was dead. Their game was never dead. In fact, the interesting thing is, it's just that the viewership got dwarfed by the other games. They stayed here, and then League of Legends went up here, and even CS went up there, and that's the big problem. So it's actually not crazy that they maintained their viewership. It's another game a bit like CS, that if you're really into that game, you're only into that game, aren't you? You're not into some other shit. You don't just hop to the next game. You just stick with that one. So like that's actually one that people never understood. Is that it was never dead in that respect. It was dead in the respect of it'll never be the #1 esport. It can't even come close ever again. That's how it's dead, because I'm not the one who does this, but everyone else thinks esports games are sharks and they have to keep improving and going forwards and moving or they die. I don't think that's the case. I've seen CS where it went up and down, and it could be, and the whole point is, as you say, as long as it doesn't crash to like a critical threshold, then you're fine. As long as it just, you know, it can go down a couple of thousand.
Like people are saying fucking Dota 2 is dead. Think about the insanity.
No way. What are you talking about?
What a ridiculous fucking premise. Like, Right, so a move happened in CS, Duncan, and it's one I'm sure you're very interested about. 100 Thieves.
Fucking hell, this is the most underwhelming news of the fucking year, but whatever.
Well, this is the most underwhelming episode of the year, so let's do it. 100 Thieves have signed I'm a Pet, former Evil Genius's coach. He's joined the team. I mean, in terms of a coach pickup, it's big for the minute.
It is, but here's the problem. What you want, I'm a Pet instead of Kassad. And then the makeup of your team is the most chilled out, least killer instinct people in the whole world. So you recruited a guy who is just like, oh, well, I'm the Daps of coaches. I'm off again. That's a shame.
I don't know if
they don't do it to me again.
There's something weird about I'm a Pet, man. Like, he has these like weird flashes of just like towering fucking hubris, right? Like,
nah, I think that's fake. My read on that basically
is fake.
That's like when someone just like put it this way, he is literally the kid who in 1950 would be reading a fucking Superman comic and it would be like, tired of getting sand kicked in your face. Then he'd just go and send off that fucking juice that you. And then he's like, I'm gonna have big muscles like pan nutters. You know what? You just fucking weedy little piece of shit. Like at this point, like my sister will kick the fucking sand in your face next to you, cunt. Like, so all I'm saying is, I think that's his attempt at having like a personality and having some bravado. Like, well, you know what? I think I am a pretty good coach, actually. And then just gets caned in that fucking game against OG or whatever it was. Like, I think that's his attempt at bravado. It's just shit. Basically, he's coming in. He's basically rocking up like fucking whatever, Marty McFly's dad, where he's trying to be like, you leave her alone. Except the difference is when fucking Daps is just getting worked over by everyone in those teams, he doesn't just fucking save him, does he? He just fucks off with him, just going, oh, well, I'll just stand back and hope it's not me next. It's always you next, isn't it?
I don't know, because okay, so let's just.
Some of this is I want to be true. I can't.
Well, he said a few things lately. Like, okay, first before I even get into this other stuff, I'll just give my thoughts on this. I do think, like, no disrespect to I'm a Pet. I think when he publicly came out and kind of like, you know, oh yeah, everyone knows that Tarek bloody hates me and I bloody hate him. Oh, we didn't know that actually, you know. Like,
oh, no one knew that. We all thought you were boy.
We all know
him. Exactly. Like, what are you talking
I remember
about?
Actually, like, this is just a funny fucking story that I'll just tell, and it's all cool now, guys. So don't bring it up again. But I do remember one time, obviously, like me and Red Eye, we've known each other many years, but there was a period where we did have a bit of friction in our relationship. We'd got past it and we'd made up and we were talking about something. I can't remember. Anyway, we were in person, we were talking, and he said, well, it's no secret we both bloody hate each other, Richard. And I went, I don't hate you, Paul. He went, all right, well, yeah, I don't. Well, come on, whatever. He just tried to like breeze past it. Like, I was like, what the fuck, mate? Like, I thought we buried the hatchet. Like, he just threw it out there. I think so. That's like what I'm a Pet did. Like, he just fucking said, it's no secret that Tarek and me fucking hate each other. Like, nobody knew, mate, and there was no need for us to know. Like, there was no need. But anyway, like, so listen, I think Kassad low key is one of the best fucking coaches we've got, and I think this is a step down overall for the org. I don't think there's anything I'm a Pet's gonna do. No matter how much he says, I'll run a tough bloody locker room, me, or whatever other nonsense quotes he wants to come out with. I don't think there's anything he's going to do with this team that Kassad couldn't have figured out.
Also, think about what he's coming off, right? He had the team when, yeah, they had some success. They've just gone through the worst period possible. Like, they are unimaginably bad for how good the players in the team are. I made the joke the other day, like, I'm obviously not suggesting they're match fixing, but it's like, it's almost like when a team intentionally tanks in a franchise sport and they make themselves bad on purpose. Like, it doesn't make sense how bad Evil Geniuses is. So if you were the coach of that, and he was the coach when that rot had already begun and was already fully set in, it's like, how are you ever going to talk a big game after that? Like, Kassad was straight fire. Even 100 Thieves at their worst, like, they weren't at the level Evil Geniuses at.
Oh, no. So I'll even do a bit if you need to edit it, Sam. Yeah, I remember when Kassad managed that Indian team in 2014. Now, I don't consider 2014 like a big achievement or whatever, and I think they were just directly invited, but it just shows, you know, the sort of the depth and breadth of his skill, really. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. We've styled it out. So anyway, I don't think there's anything I'm a Pet can do that
I bet he couldn't even coach an Indian team no major. Actually, the thing is, as an actual coach, like if you take like the coach side of like watch demos and stuff, as far as I know, he's a pretty competent person at that. It's just like I'm saying, I don't believe he has the force of character, as it were, to be a coach generally, and especially not with a bunch of fucking laid back Aussies.
Well, let's get to some of the things he said. So the first thing that everyone was discussing, and I think you tweeted about this, was didn't he say that teams should share demos?
No, that was Valens. You're thinking of the Cloud9 analyst guy.
Did Valens say that?
Oh no,
I like Valens guy. He's smart.
Oh, I'm sick of being told that. Right? How many of this? Is how you know everyone. This is how you know everyone in esports has never actually met someone who's like got speciality in one field. So everyone told me for fucking 5 years that Riot's FPS game is going to be straight fire because Volcano's a fucking genius and he made cash. Then the game comes out. The shittest part about it's the fucking maps that are terrible, totally stupid as fuck. So apparently him being super smart didn't work on that. So then the same thing. Valens is a genius. You know, he used to work for like fucking Google and Tesla and like all this shit. All right, well, cool. Let's see what ideas he's got. Why doesn't everyone just do their job and just tell me what they're going to do on the next round? Is this a fucking joke? Like, what are you talking about? That's probably the stupidest thing anyone who's a coach could ever say. It's like, why don't we just share literal footage? Like, basically, could you imagine Bill Belichick, even he wouldn't have the balls to say, they should just send me over the fucking tapes of them playing me. It's not me.
I'm going to send a cunt over there to spy on him anyway, so may as well just send it to me. Yeah.
So you know I'm going to win anyway, so can't I just have the videos? Like, it's probably the dumbest angle I've ever heard of.
No, but like, here's the mad thing with that, right? Like, and I'm sorry I falsely attributed it to Amapet. I apologize about that. I honestly thought it was him. I've got another ridiculous thing he said in the interview, so you might have to chop this together in a funny order, Sam. Just do what you can. This show's a fucking mess. Car crash podcast. Yeah, like he said in Dota, they all just like, and I was like, what? Do they?
I mean, I can't believe you probably record a game, and remember in Dota, like in theory, if you have the game file, like in theory, you could probably access everything. But I don't believe that's true though. I think
that can't be true. That can't be like fucking, OG are calling people up going, you'll never just guess what fucking freaky shit we've done that we're probably going to pull out at a fucking at TI. You've got to see it, guys. Here you go. And fucking send. There's no way that's going on, is there? I mean, am I stupid?
Hey, listen, we can all do hot takes, but that was one of the most bizarre hot takes I've seen in a while. Especially because the gist was, why don't you just make my job easier? It was like, what are you talking about? That's such a mad angle.
Yeah.
And then they even used, right? I think it was even him who said when like Elige clapped back at him, he just implied that, well, they're going to find it out eventually anyway. Yeah, that's your job is to find it out, dumb fuck. Like the process of you finding it out is the only reason you have a job right now.
The job.
Mate, can you imagine, by the way, if he was ever involved in like...
That's like if you're a chef, mate, why don't we just order Uber Eats?
Can you imagine if Valens was in the fucking mob?
I know.
You know what I mean? I ratted this out to the cops. Like they only come round to ask about that thing that happened down the corner, but they're going to find out about the cause and all eventually.
So I'm doing state's evidence against all.
Yeah, just say you anyway. You're not going to kill me, right? Like I'm out. Yeah, say you.
I'm still a made man, though, right? Still loyal to the core of
that. Yeah, I mean, come on, they're going to find out. It's just so insane to even sort of go down that road and rationalise it like that.
I think everyone's just gone a bit mental with the current world state. So. For sure.
Yeah, no, we have all lost our fucking marbles. I mean, let's also just be real. Like, I have never, like, because I've started reading the articles now, and I was like, oh, well, I knew this anyway. But they were like, mental health time bomb about to explode because of the pandemic. Everyone's fucked. We were already losing our box. Our box was like, we were holding onto our box like desperately, like that opening scene from fucking Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone or whatever the fuck. And it was already on a thread, and then we've literally been just cooped up in isolation for 2 months, 3 months, whatever the fuck it's been. I've lost all track of time. I literally cannot even, I wasn't even sure it was Tuesday today. Is it Tuesday? It is, right? Good. Yeah. Good.
It is indeed.
It's fucking mental, mate, how bad it is. So yeah, I think what we need to do is basically when the pandemic's over, just timestamp everything in the build up to it. Just get rid of it. That's the plan.
So what did he actually say this twit longer then?
Yeah, so no, it wasn't a Twitter. It was an interview.
All right.
So what I'm a pet said was, I was ready to sign for a Valorant team, but on the same day I was about to go, thankfully I got the offer from 100 Thieves. We had one foot out the door. Now, I've said this. Being a player going over to Valorant at the start's a little bit iffy. Why the motherfuck would you even be thinking about it as a coach?
I don't know if you're aware about this. That game isn't even out yet. It's still in closed beta. Like, why are people so stupid? I don't get it.
What are you going to coach?
I know.
I've talked extensively about the maps. The maps are garbage. The maps don't need coaching. The maps are so basic and generic and stupid in every fucking form that they are some of the worst FPS maps I've ever played in all my years of gaming. So what coaching are you doing over there? Like, tell me what coaching you're doing. Like you say, there isn't even a scene. Like, do you know that? Can you believe how stupid it is in their tournaments? They just have to play all 3 maps. They're doing best of 3.
You know what? I'll even drop some dime.
They're doing best of 3s with
I don't
3
give
maps.
a fuck. You know, I give you the real on this show. I've even heard that despite everything they said, Riot are liars, and they've been stopping people doing tournaments. There's loads of people who want to do tournaments. Basically, no joke. People, this is mental, Richard. Everyone said that line that you said, it's going to be different this time. It's not. From day one, it's worse. Everyone's begging them to let them do tournaments because it's the hot shit right now and there's all quarantine. These motherfuckers won't play a ball as usual because, as usual, they have to decide if they like the way this is going. And I'm going to set these random, arbitrary, and capricious rules that you have to follow. So they're just being arseholes from day one again. And the game isn't even out. That's how stupid these guys are. At least last time they ran game on people and let the game come out and then tricked you all.
But anyway, yeah, so he said he was going to be jumping across. I don't know what role he was doing because I think he said he might have been a general manager, which is like whatever. But all these people like in NA that are fucking hanging out on Valorant, like guys, like I know, like come on, man, come on, grow up. It's just silly now. The people that are talking about it, but do what you got to do. Right then, how long have we been doing the real show for, Sam? Try and take into consideration everything you're gonna have. How much are you gonna have to timestamp? Do you reckon approximately?
Not that much. It won't be. Probably like 3 minutes.
It's probably more than that, isn't it? I mean, put it this way, you definitely have to timestamp the bits Duncan says.
I'm just going to frank and edit all of them, mate. I'll make you say whatever I need you to say.
Excellent. Right then, in that case, fuck it. We'll just go to viewer questions. I don't think we've missed out any big stories. If we have,
there's nothing happened, does it?
Let's be real. Yeah, we got 2 tournaments to talk about next week, anyway. So it's all good. Right, let's do the viewer questions. I must scroll up. Oh, by the way, so you didn't see me saying to you, by the way, you're mental.
No, I saw that. I saw that, and I replied. Do you see the reply?
I didn't get the reply.
All right.
I didn't get the reply.
I said, mate, Carl Douglas said it wasn't out to do with me. If he wants to go kung fu fighting,
I couldn't believe you actually played kung fu fighting on the bit. Like now of all times, I can't believe you did that. But
nothing wrong with kung fu fighting. That's just 70s disco, mate. 70s disco.
The lyrics of that song aren't okay.
I played Disco Inferno after it.
That they're not good. Oh, they've aged badly. That's all we need to know. Anyway, Reykjavik on Steam. Which current esport has the scummiest scene?
The problem with that is obviously you have to define scummiest because based on some of the things we referenced earlier, it would actually probably be Dota 2 because the rock goes right to the top of the fucking game developer. So that's outrageous in itself. But if you want to go with scummy in the more traditional sense, I would say Overwatch. I've never seen a scene that was full of, like, not the players and stuff. They're all fine. In fact, most of them are pretty cool people to come up from fucking Team Fortress and they never had a pro career. But, like, I've never seen fans and, like, a culture that was basically, like, exacerbated by the developer that was worse. Like, I don't use that whole toxic thing, but I just think they're cunts.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm with Russ Cole. It's all one gooder, man. giant garbage cannon out of space. That's what I think of esports. But yeah, I mean, Overwatch has got loads of stuff going on. Again, we've never even got to the bottom of like the talent agency bullshit. You know, fucking. There's just so much. Put it this way, it's one of those things we will have to wait for it to completely collapse before all the stories come out because people are still so invested in it succeeding. They are terrified of telling you even little things like how shit their houses are, how little they actually get paid, all the structured bonus stuff, how much profit they actually get, how the merchandising deals are divided up, how Blizzard are pocketing like huge fucking amounts off every sponsorship deal that they announce, and actually it's just crumbs for everybody else, how reliant they were on the roadshow stuff. I've tried publishing as much of this as I can feasibly get out with reliable sources, and people just say, you're a fucking hater, man. all right, let's see in 5 years when they basically do a documentary about OWL and it's like the first run around of the XFL and it's an absolute clusterfuck. And in fact, the XFL failed for a bunch of reasons. With this, all Activision Blizzard, by the way. It's 90% their fault for everything that goes wrong. Oh, did you see the big media push they've done recently?
What did
An IGN reviewer came out.
Oh, I saw this.
It was their 4th anniversary. Gave him a 10 out of 10 review. Said the game is perfection, and they were on American Dad as well. It's hilarious. Like how fucking desperate they are.
If anyone can't read between the lines, since I'm not involved in the story, I'm not involved in Overwatch, I can just say this: they almost certainly just paid for that behind the scenes. That was
here's the interesting part, right? So for the IGN thing, I looked into it. The reviewer legitimately is like an obsessed with the game, and I think what happened is like they probably said,
that's how you arrange it. You get the guy.
Our 4th anniversary is coming up. I don't think you had to pay that pleb anything. I read an article from him from the previous year where he said, I'm looking forward to Overwatch 2, even though I don't think a PvE will naturally fix anything, but Activision Blizzard have never let me down. I'm like,
this reminds me of another story. I'll just tell people very quickly.
Yeah.
Years after League of Legends had been out, I think we're talking 2013, 2014. Remember, the game came out in 2009. IGN, same website, you notice, did a review of League of Legends. And the woman who did it was a woman called Leah B. Jackson. Yeah. She gave it a 9.2 out of 10. So in her mind, it was like the fucking godfather of fucking video games, apparently. And then I think within a year, she was working for Riot Games. That's the sort of industry we live in. That's the world we live in.
Yeah. I mean, what was crazy about that is as well, that was what, like 2009, 2010 League of Legends, which couldn't conceivably be.
No, she did the review a couple of years later than that.
Oh, well, no, but I think it was, didn't she go back and like pep it up or something? I can't remember. I've got it written down somewhere.
It's still mental, the review score.
But it was, yeah.
Like, it just begged belief. Like, even if you liked it, you'd have given it like, 8 out of 10, pretty good, you know? Like, the idea you would put it up into like the 9s is like, get out my face. At that point in time, what credibility do you have as a reviewer? Like, what can you ever review below 9 at that point?
Games
that don't pay, I guess.
But it's on American Dad, which of course is broadcast on Fox. Hilariously, I'm pretty sure most Blizzard employees would tell you that, you know, Fox is the tool of the devil and the alt-right and all this other bullshit. Incredibly, though, who's running the esports program? Pete Vlastelica from Fox Sports. You reckon he might have a mate over there? Who knows? Anyway, Jyse asks, if you all got to pass one law that would affect every country in the world, what would it be?
The problem with that is that's like the ultimate time.
I can't answer this in our life.
Exactly. Make it a fun one then. Just do it the light-hearted one. Let me think. What law would I change?
I got one. If you want a time filler.
Go on then.
No, the kind of guys who answer a phone on a train because they want to act like they're really important businessmen. Anyone? Nah, just stun gun. Immediate stun gun. People just patrolling the train. As soon as someone's on a phone, like, oh yeah, I've got to do that. Yeah. Fucking talk to him later, you lying cunt.
You ejaculate on him.
No, stun gun, mate.
You ejaculate on him. It just sounded like.
Well, I'm making the law, mate.
But I don't know, mate. It's an hard.
Wait a minute, is it just one specific country, or is it one law in every country?
One law, and it's all over the world. It's adopted by all over the world.
Carmack's illegal, just everywhere. Why not? Fuck it. You will have fallen so much. Stay there forever. That will be your punishment. Oh, I'm for you after this. I'll never let some of this shit go.
I don't know. I can't say mine. I just can't.
Sorry. Don't worry about it.
So I won't. Thanks, Jay.
Human rights for every country, of course, is all.
I mean, yeah, it is incredible actually that we just spent the entire time sat here malevolently trying to think of things. What I would do is I would bring, everyone gets. The government has to send you a birthday cake.
Ooh, even that's political, though, isn't it?
Probably. I don't know. You can tell me why after. Buttpounder420.
Wait. I was gonna say read that question before you read it out loud. Like,
come on.
No, I'll just say, where is Bin Laden actually buried? Well, here's the thing, mate. I can't tell you, but he was dead definitely before Can I say this? This isn't weird.
Come on, that's basically sort of the unspoken truth in it that people mostly
put it this way. I'm just gonna say, right.
This statement has been redacted.
SunMaidRaisins. Timestamp all of that. Despite the naysayers, Jackz has held on at G2 and been fairly decent. What positive attributes does he provide to the team?
I've got a good one. Like, this is actually one that I can't remember if it was Sponge who made this observation, but it's bang on. Like, it's one of those things you can't unsee once you notice it. Is whenever he plays on CT side, he's just really good at finding like weird off angles that aren't the standard spots to play. And as a result, he can just create kills, even though he's not like a mad skilled player or something, but he can just create kills that you just wouldn't expect. So he actually does seem to pull his weight as far as I can tell. Like, the more I've watched him since, I think there's something to that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would also add to that as well. I mean, look, there's just no getting around the fact that he is actually like low key a guy that sort of holds his own. Like, when it comes to kills, it's not like he's adrift massively. In fact, when you consider that Amanek still on the team, Jackz is like a good middle of the pack player. So I was really surprised by his overall level of talent, his ability to frag. And I think clearly he's one of those players who he's been given an opportunity late in his career, and he hasn't fluffed his lines at all. I haven't seen him saying anything crazy, doing anything crazy. He seems to be a good teammate all around. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he might not be spectacular, but he could be like a budget Steeko in that regard or something like that. I suppose might be an analogy. KoeKenPan. Thanks for the donation earlier today, by the way, for the $60 when I'm streaming earlier. I appreciate it. Any good movies you would recommend? I planned ahead of time. It's impossible, my friend, to recommend you like all the best movies throughout all of human history. Even your favorite movie can change on a day-to-day basis. But I was thinking about movies to recommend you from 2019, the most from last year.
All right.
So I don't know if you've got any, Duncan, you saw last year that you really liked.
My problem is I'm not one of those people who really watches like the most modern movies. I tend to just go wherever I feel like. So I'm trying to think what I would have seen last year that was good. I'll just type like best movies 2019 and see if any of that I actually saw.
Right. Well, I'll go first, and while you're doing that, so I would say first of all, like if you're into that kind of quirky, like back and forth, like mystery comedy kind of shit, like a good old school, romp movie mystery. Knives Out, like I know Rian Johnson is an insufferable goony beard man, and he completely fucked The Last Jedi. But Knives Out is a sick film, and even with its like immigration subtext, it's not insufferable. It's not so woke. It's over the top. It shows that you can have a sensible balance of personal politics and a good film. The Lighthouse, me and Sam fucking loved that.
I don't even know if it was good though, mate. It was just, I don't know.
It blew you fucking mind. You watched it twice.
Yeah, it did. I watched it twice. That's what I mean. So I was giving it a second go. I was like, all right, it was weird. I don't know if it's good.
Oh, mate, it's sick. It's easily one of the best films.
I'd watch it though. It's definitely worth watching. I'll give it that.
Easily one of the best films of 2019.
Unfortunately, I've just had a look and I've seen almost none of these movies, so I'm just going to give you.
Have you not watched Parasite yet? I would have thought you would have been all over that.
It's on my list, but I just haven't got around to it. I'm not one of these people, mate, who just like half the people who brag about those movies. It's a new form of virtue signaling. Like, I'll watch it when I get around to watching it. I'm not doing. It's not like a fucking. Have you seen the new thing? Who gives a fuck? So all I'll say is I'll just give you an old school pick. So I'll try and just pick something like not everyone's seen. If you've never seen it, I'll just go out and check out the movie from the mid-90s called Dark City. It's pretty good one. If you've never seen it, it's going to blow your mind.
Throwback.
Yeah.
And then last one, I'll give a weird one. The Souvenir. Not a lot of people talk about this movie. It's a bit of a depressing kind of like breakup movie, but it's like how you can kind of go through like tough shit but produce art at the end. So it's kind of like it's got a good cathartic message to it overall. And it did really well at a bunch of like indie flicks and stuff. So go check that out. Right. AliceTheAlcemist. Hey, Rich, hypothetically, if one day a tournament organizer asked you, Sam, and Thorin to have full autonomy of producing and directing the major, what talent would you hire? And lose all my friends here. And what sort of content would you put out that would make it the most unforgettable major of all time?
I mean, here's the thing. I actually think you wouldn't lose that many friends in as much as one thing I would do immediately is what they do with TI. I would invite almost everyone who's good. But what I would do is this. The area I would be ruthless, though, is what I don't like that some TOs did over the years, is just because I'm inviting everyone doesn't mean, like TI, I thought it was pathetic that for TI, they were changing casters and analysts between maps of the fucking final games. Like, that just ruined the affair.
Ruined your rhythm, ruined your flow.
What I would do is, listen, I'm inviting everyone, but obviously I'm putting the absolute best people on the final. And on the semi-final, they're going to be pretty, it would be gradations. But when we start out and we're doing like the massive Swiss system, whatever the fuck, at that point in time, everyone can have a go. Come on. Let's just let everyone get in on it and have a massive, awesome celebration and Counter-Strike in it.
I mean, I think like it's pretty obvious like who we would all hire and stuff. What I would do is I would have like a No Majors Club style stream, like a B stream, like they have the noob stream for the TI, but like, bigged up as part of the broadcast. So we'd have a separate group of people. So all like, the guys that come on, like the fucking Davies that sit there and crack a beer and tell a story, they're the people that I would want to get together on a fucking couch and have a party. And yeah, maybe they do some of the main broadcast and we all interact with it, but like we'd acknowledge it. I would absolutely bring back those player profiles and do them seriously again, like high level content, high profile content, like really good, high quality stuff. I think they're sorely missed. And I think just overall, in terms of like making it a little, one of the other things I would want to do, I hate how there's no like sort of reverential like part of like, history, days gone by and stuff. And then we do like a show match and it's kind of a bit weird. So I'd do something big. Like I'd get like a fucking Joe Miller and, people like that from that era to kind of come back and maybe do the show match and sort of have a like video, like a little stinger explaining who they are and all of their big hype moments from like 1.6 and previous versions of CS and bring them out and make a big fuss about it. Just stuff like that. Because we like majors feel that they're not connected to anything. They just feel like they exist and they're a separate tournament to everything else. It's never really lived up to the celebration of Counter-Strike for me. So that's what I would change. J-Dubs, from 2015 to now, the Dallas Cowboys have more offline playoff wins than complexity. The Cowboys have won 2. The complexity roster has had over 6 months. What needs to change? I don't know if what he's saying is accurate. I can't vouch for the questions, but I do know J-Dubs. He's usually... Also,
the part that... Listen, he was probably trying to make that funny, like a meme, because the part with that is, we're all playing online, aren't we? So, don't know if you're aware, like J-Dubs, like the world at the moment, you can't have lands, so... technically, Astralis has had 0 land wins in the last few months, so they're shit by that logic.
I see. So what was it meant to be?
He was trying to style on him with like a meme referencing the team or whatever. He's probably also trying to make fun of the Cowboys only having like those 2 playoff wins or whatever. So fair enough.
I think I don't think anything needs to change about this roster. I don't know what's going on. I haven't really seen complexity a lot. Like they were in that Road to Rio stuff.
I think they're a pretty solid team.
Yeah. I wouldn't fuck with it. I mean, like, based on what happened with those guys, they had like some, they burst on the scene, had some like high level results anyway at events, and caught people by surprise. Like, I've heard some freaky shit like going on as well. Like, a lot of people are like, well, other players are kind of like really skeptical about some of the performances of the players because like Blame F's gone like Super Saiyan and they're like, no, I never do that. LAN again, so I'm looking forward to seeing them get back to LAN, and hopefully they can do good. Right then, guess that we can wrap up the show. Good luck timestamping all of that stuff. All that remains to be said, Sam, is of course a shout out to our sponsor, .com. Go over there, go to .com RLS, and you can get loads of benefits and all of that from supporting us, and we're super happy to have you over there. And also our patrons, our $100 patrons, Jerky's Mini and AliceTheAlcemist, who also does the timestamps, so you can thank them for that. Madams, ReykjavikOnSteam, our $50 patrons, Benakagi Assassin, KoeKenPan, Buttpounder420, Carve, Colin Penny, Cathal, Flacksmith, J-Dubs, Jyse, Lipscomb Davis, Madsen, Marcus Kyumpar, Miss Alcoholic, Sard Sawar, Sigo, SunMaidRaisins, TC Owens, Tobias Bernasconi, Watchdoge, and Zinged. There you have it. That was another episode of By the Numbers. We should be back next Tuesday, hopefully. I don't think anything's going on.
I can't. I'm doing Blast. That's next week.
Oh, what are you at the bar? Oh, yeah, I saw the talent announcement today. Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we might have to do it the day after that week or whatever, you know. So whatever.
Yeah. Just let me know. Keep me posted. All right. Well, make sure you tune in for Duncan's show at the Blast and tune in for By the Numbers when we do it, which who fucking knows when. But until then, take care of yourselves.